Hi, I'm Dan Krause, and today I want to talk about when should a person do estate planning. So first of all, like I said, my name's Dan Krause, and I work at Krause Estate Planning and Elder Law Center, where we do estate planning, elder law and Medicaid planning, and probate and trust administration, and we do it well. If you have any questions or concerns or you need help in any of those areas, please give us a call, 608-268-5751. So when should a person do estate planning? Well, there are many times in a person's life when estate planning can be very important. Setting out your wishes on paper in the proper legal form is a way to make sure that some things are controlled if you are unable to control them in case of incapacity, death, or even incarceration, or being held in another country, say for an illness or for some reason against your will. So the first points in life are turning 18. Generally, a person, at least in Wisconsin, which is where I mostly practice, in Wisconsin, when you turn 18, you are eligible to make these legal documents. Before you're 18, your parents would get to choose for you, your parent or legal guardian would get to choose what happens to your things in case you should become incapacitated or pass away. Once you're 18, many people should think about doing some estate planning documents. Even though you may not have, like a typical 18-year-old, you may not have many possessions. You might have a car, you might have some stereo equipment or computer equipment, etc. Other than that, you may not have much. So planning for the intergenerational transfer of wealth is not really on your radar. However, young kids, when they go off to school or they start training somewhere or they go in the military or whatever they're going to do, sometimes take more risks than elder people. And the risks that young people take sometimes, in the worst case scenario, can land them in the hospital or disabled, unable to make decisions for themselves for a time or perhaps permanently. If this should happen, it's best if they have some estate planning documents in place, such as a financial power of attorney, so their parents typically could make financial decisions for them if necessary. Also, a healthcare power of attorney, so that their parents could make healthcare decisions for them if they needed to do that in case of incapacity. So turning 18 is a very important point. Another point as we go on in age usually is marriage. Now, if you get married, uh, you're normally in Wisconsin and you'd pass away during your marriage, everything would go to your spouse if you don't have any kids. So if you're okay with that, you probably don't need to have a will, but if you want some things to go to other people besides your spouse once you get married, good idea to have some estate planning. And of course, for all ages, it's always important to have that estate planning in place in case you become incapacitated so someone can manage your health care and finances. Once you have kids, estate planning becomes very important again, because if something happens to parents of children and they pass away or they become unable to take care of their children because of an illness or injury, then a guardian needs to be appointed for those children that can manage those children's lives, schooling, healthcare, etc. So estate planning should be done in order to appoint the person or persons that you would want to be guardian to actually be guardian of your children. Otherwise, it's up for grabs. It could be either side, grandma and grandpa on either side fighting over who's able to manage the children. And while that's nice that they would want to do that, it would be better if you got to choose who would be guardians over your kids. So having children is very important point to do estate planning. Once you start building up assets, especially if you have assets, real estate assets, and really especially if you have real estate assets in more than one state, very, very important to do estate planning in that case. Towards retirement, another big milestone. When you start looking forward to your old age and your retirement, and then even further on, passing on the intergenerational wealth to the next generations. You want to do that in an orderly way, in a way that avoids taxes as much as you can, and gives to the people who might be better able to manage those things. So you get to choose all of those things and decide when a young person might be old enough to have their assets. Otherwise, you appoint a trustee to manage those assets for those people. Anytime a disabled loved one, say a child, becomes 18 or is about to become 18, estate planning may be important then to set up some sort of a trust, a special needs trust. So when you have special needs people, it's important to do estate planning so that they don't lose or miss out on benefits that they might have. Another very, very important time, now this I want to underline twice, if you have kids and then you get married to someone that's not the parent of your kids, do estate planning. You must do estate planning. There is so much heartache and trouble because if you don't have a will or a trust or some document in place that says where all your stuff goes when you pass away, if you pass away in Wisconsin, your kids and your spouse are going to have some issues because they're supposed to be splitting everything. And if that's not what you want, then you should do estate planning. Even if it is what you want, you should lay it out on paper so everyone knows that this is your plan, because I have seen firsthand these things go very badly when a person does not have an estate plan and it's their second marriage or their third marriage and they have kids that are not the kids of their spouse. Another time that you should really consider doing estate planning, and there's no specific date on this one, but if you're in a long-term relationship with somebody and you're not married, this happens all the time, but you want to treat that person like a spouse, or you want that person to get all your stuff when you pass away, you really need to write that down with an estate planner to make sure that that happens, because if you're not married to them, an accident happens, you get ill or whatever, they are not going to be an heir of your assets, and they will go to other family members. Another time to do estate planning is as you look towards old age, or as you are needing old age or elder care, nursing home care, assisted living care, or maybe even lesser levels of care than that. It's time to start thinking about preserving assets in case of nursing home or assisted living, because those things cost a lot of money, more than most people make in a month would go out the door, so that if you would need long-term care, your assets will dwindle, and many times, many times people end up with nothing, because at the end of life, even though they had a nice nest egg at their retirement, it's all gone because of the devastating cost of nursing care. So these are many times during a person's life when estate planning is very important. I can't say that there's any one time more than another, but sometimes when it's too late, it's too late. If you should end up in an accident or have a serious mental breakdown or an illness that causes you not to be able to do any more estate planning, then it is too late. And we never know when that might happen. Things fall out of the sky. So that's just a little bit about when should you do estate planning. Earlier is better. If you have any questions about estate planning, elder law, or probate, trust administration, please give us a call, 608-268-5751. Thanks.